Today we're looking at John Legend's new album Darkness and Light. John Legend is a pop, soul, R&B artist that I think you can trace his career back to the early 2000s. Here are some of his previous albums. One of my favorite John Legend albums so far is Once Again, and in comparison to Darkness and Light, it's a little bit more R&B and soul-ish. Of course, there are soul and R&B influences on Darkness and Light as well, but it's turning a little bit more towards the pop theme. To be honest, I really haven't listened that much to R&B, pop, or soul, but I'm always keeping my mind open to new music and new genres, so I thought John Legend is a great opportunity for me to explore those genres. So let's talk about the new album. It didn't strike a chord in me, to be honest. After listening through it the first time, I got a very vague first impression. I'm used to listening to a lot of experimental hip-hop, rock, and progressive music in general that takes a little bit longer time to digest. So if I hadn't kept my mind open for this album and consciously actually sat down and wanted to explore it, I think I would have actually skipped a lot of the songs very quickly. In my view, a lot of the songs on this record are very light. I mean, you can listen to it for the first time and really, to be honest, most of the tracks aren't really that memorable or catchy, but there were a few tracks that were a little bit better than the others that had a little bit higher replay value in my view. The track Penthouse Floor, for example, has a really punchy rhythm and a funky ass guitar, and I also love the backing vocals. And if you mix that with with John Legend's amazing voice here, it all kind of clashes nicely together, and it becomes a very interesting and memorable song. There's also a very interesting progression in terms of the instruments here. For example, in the second verse, you can hear that the guitar kind of speeds up. It is muted, it is more intense, and it's accompanied by a little bit more intense a more intense snare drum, I think. And as a plus on top of this, we have a featured artist here, Chance the Rapper. I really love Chance the Rapper. His album here, as you can see here on the screen. I don't remember the name of the album. Man, you gotta check it out. Anyways, Chance the Rapper is featured here on this track, and as usual, he has a very playful and funny section that really adds a lot of value to the track. It's impossible not to rock your head back and forth and just, let's try the elevator. The next track is called Darkness and Light, and that is also a very, very strong track. It features some of the more impressive vocal performances from John Legend in my view, and it is also accompanied by this other singer. I'm so bad at doing my research, I can't remember her name, but this female singer and John Legend, when these vocals are mixed together in the song, it's an amazing blend. I'm gonna clap for that. Another thing that you can't overlook or overhear or whatever you want to say when listening to this track is that it has such an intense and dynamic shift between the verse and the chorus. This absolutely makes the track more memorable and a hell of a lot more catchier. Another small thing that I also noticed about the song is that before the last chorus, there's this very psychedelic and playful guitar strumming, which I really, it's like chocolate to the ears. I love it. I love this track. The last track from this record that made a very big impact on me, or at least that made a positive impact on me, was the track Marching Into the Dark. It has a very stomping rhythm with some funky ass guitars, much like Penthouse Floor, and I don't know, I just can't get enough of these guitars. Lyrically, Legend is touching on a very confusing yet quite thought-provoking theme here in this song. One of his phrases goes like this: all of the greatest of all, were chasing their fading star. And I wanted to make sense out of this phrase. So humanity is kind of looking up to their big idols, and they're kind of walking in their footsteps in terms of their visions and their dreams, but it's kind of leading them astray. It's a fading star. I don't know. Lyrics are worth thinking about, and that adds a lot of value. At least that's what I think. All right, so track number 2, 3, and 12. Those tracks are actually pretty good. But what about the rest? They're basically a bunch of love songs, and there's nothing wrong in that. The thing that's wrong about these love songs is that they're just so boring. They're just so light, as I mentioned in the start of this video. It's like there's nothing to them. I mean, Love Me Now, the single, yeah, that is what it is. It was the single of the album. It came out some time before the album released. And you probably heard it a million times before if you live in a city or if you go to a shopping mall or wherever. And after listening to it for such big amount of times, it has basically no replay value. At least that's how I feel about it. What You Do to Me is another one of these tracks. I think it's the 4th or the 5th track maybe. And that was just a terrible attempt of making a pop song. I don't understand what they were thinking about. It's just agonizing to listen to. Surefire was boring. Right By You, boring. Temporarily Painless, I wish. This track was also really, really boring. I mean, the lyrics, in the lyrics, Legend talks about this girl and guy, maybe himself and another girl, how they're falling in love, how they're having sex and being drunk, which is kind of a theme that I've heard somewhere before. I think it's an occurring theme in at least some other pop songs. Track number 10, How Can I Blame You, is a heartbreak song. Track number 11 is also a heartbreak song, and yet again, there's nothing wrong with the fact that these songs are love songs. I mean, that is one of the things that John Legend is famous for. He's singing about love. But the composition of the songs, the lyrics, and the melodies, they're just boring. There's nothing to grasp here. John Legend's potential, his voice, his talent is just amazing. But it didn't shine through on this record, sadly. So I'm giving this record a strong 4 out of 10. Yeah, I guess that was it. Bam. John Legend is the track Penthouse. One of my favorite John Legend albums.